Good morning, everyone. I am an adherent to the school of Mark Henry. It is 9 o'clock. We should start. If you ever found Mark Henry, who's not here today, so I can say many disparaging things. He will watch his watch when it is 0900, which is the right way to put that in his mind. At 0900, he starts fights. Because it is 0900. So, grateful to have everyone here this morning for a special class to bring everybody together. We have a special guest welcome to just a second, and we're very glad you are here. But we have Dr. Adam Winn is back with us again. So glad you're here. Adam teaches at the University of Mary Harding Baylor with Brett, and when I told the story last time, but when we're getting ready to study Mark, and then Jim Hunt was because he has been reading this book, and I think it would be very helpful for our study. Great! And he gives you the book, it's right here. Reading Mark, Christology of Caesar, Jesus the Messiah, and Roman Imperial Ideology. So I start reading the book, and I'm like, who is this guy Adam Winn? And it's like, oh, he's the WMHB. That's 30 minutes away. I'm calling him and getting him up here. So we're grateful to have him kick us off on our study, and now grateful to have him back to talk about one of the more difficult parts of Mark chapter 13. And so I'm looking forward to the conversation about that. So let's open with a brief word of prayer, and then we'll just kind of talk our way through this week. Let's pray. God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who abides with us by your Spirit, we praise you for calling us together to people today and always here at Rescue and around the globe. We praise you, hold your name above all names. We seek, Father, to lay our lives before you, to serve you, and you call us. We praise you that in our callings, that you inform us by your scriptures. Praise you for this witness that comes to us from those who encountered your Son. Praise you, these words echo through the ages and continue to guide us and continue to point us toward you. And we ask that you open our eyes, open our hearts this morning. As we see your words, as we hear your words, as we talk about your servant, Mark's gospel. Praise you for abiding with us. In Jesus' name. Well, again, glad to be back. So, what have you been up to since we last saw?
I'm currently on sabbatical at Mary Harding Baylor.
What is sabbatical?
Yeah, absolutely. So, different questions, but the academic setting, you generally finish a project that you want to work on, and like projects, and then they're willing, they would give you a semester off. It's good pay. So that's what I'm doing currently. I'm working on a class of Mark's scholarship and Mark, Jesus is Yahweh. And so this is in college in Baylor. This book is called the New Testament. Trying to bear the New Testament, Jesus is presented as Yahweh. Understanding Jesus.
We'll get to that next time. Sure. But today we're turning to page Mark 13. So if you could turn your Bibles, if you'd like to Mark 13. And, when we get to Mark 13, we encounter Jesus in a different mode. If you look at Mark's book, he has Jesus as the suffering Jesus, a powerful Jesus, and suffering Jesus. Now we're kind of in a different mode. We're in an eschatological or apocalyptic mode. These are big words. I'll talk about those words in a minute. His eyes are on the future. And he's talking about the deconstruction of the temple, false messiahs, wars, earthquakes, famines, persecution, family betrayal, the desolating sacrilege, whatever that is, the days of suffering, darkening of suns, falling stars, the return of the Son of Man from the clouds, all these things that when we see them, we get excited. As we start looking at our TVs and look at our screens and going, hey, what's going on? Is this concern? So the imagery is all very dramatic, it's all very shocking. And so I kind of want to open by having you help us understand what's going on. Help us understand this shift at this point in our thoughts.
Okay, absolutely. I think it's good to talk. So you just got done talking about chapters 11 and 12. Where the primary focus on 11 and 12 are the temple and the temple's leadership and Jesus' foundation of that leadership. I mean, that's really the focus. In chapter 11, he comes into the city and into the temple, and it's kind of dramatic. He looks around, nobody responds to him in the temple, and then he goes home. And then he comes back to the temple. We have a lot of what's happening. And I really think the beginning of chapter 13, Mark didn't give chapter and verse to the text. People did that later, and I think it's that there's a bit, I'd say maybe a bit of a mistake here. I would probably end chapter 12 with 13, 1 and 2. I think this is how it concludes. It introduces the temple in chapter 11. He comes into the temple in chapter 11. Lots of discussion of the temple being judged. And then I think it wraps up well with Jesus leaving the temple. It says as he left the temple, this 13:1, as he left the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Teacher, look, what awesome stones and buildings," talking about the temple. And he responded, "Do you see these enormous buildings? Not even one stone to be left. No, they're all being demolished." And I think there you see Jesus' culminating statement as he's basically explicitly stating what he's been implying. And sometimes correctly stated in 11 and 12. I think that kind of wraps it up. And then you get this change, pretty significant change in focus. And it comes with a change in location. Right? They're walking out of the temple, they're 13, 1 and 2, and then when you get to chapter 3, they move, there's someplace else. Jesus was sitting on the cross in the temple. Now they're in the temple, and I think that it just shifted by the game of focus and perspective. Yes, then we get into this dramatic chapter. And I think that dramatic chapter is set up well. My question you get from the disciples in verse 4, right? They say, "Tell us, when will these things happen? What sign will show that all these things are about to come to an end?" And clearly the question about the temple is in play. But more than that, right? The first thing they say, "Tell us when these things happen." That seems to be talking about what Jesus said about construction of the temple. But then, what something shows that all these things are about to come to an end, it seems like their question is bigger than Jesus. And I think what they're asking is the significance, and then Jesus' answer gives an indication that it's bigger than just the temple. Because Jesus, I think, goes well beyond the temple. We'll talk about the temple in the rest of the text. But I think the question has to do with the fulfillment of the messianic hope, the fulfillment of God bringing about the final age, and here we have the disciples wrapping in the temple on all of those expectations, right? So the focus is, when's God going to bring this whole thing up? When are you the Messiah to restore everything and fix everything? What's that going to look like? And that, I think, is really the focus of what's coming next, and why we get this dramatic shift in language and imagery and those things, and what we will call apocalyptic.
Talk about that word. It itself is very apocalyptic.
Yes.
What is, talk about apocalyptic. What is that in Jesus' time, that first century world? What characterizes apocalyptic as a kind of theological mode or literary mode?
Absolutely, great question. That was also
It's just my job.
Very good question. So apocalyptic, we can talk about apocalyptic in political ways. One, I think we can talk about what's known as the apocalyptic worldview. And then we can talk about apocalyptic worldview that we communicate into what we call apocalyptic literature. So first we talk about apocalyptic worldview. Apocalyptic worldview is really the kind of dominant worldview of Jews in this context. And they divide time into two ages, right? And they understand themselves, at this time, most Jews at this time understand themselves living in what will often be referred to as the present evil age. In fact, if you read Galatians chapter 1, Paul talks about Christ delivering us from the uses that exact language, the present evil age, right? And so you have this idea that we live in a time when the promises of God of Israel are unfulfilled, right? Israel's enemies reign, there's evil, there's wickedness, things are not the way they should be, right? But God has made promises that it won't always be that way. And the promises are tied to a glorious future, in which God will right all wrongs. So God will deal with Israel's enemies, he'll raise Israel up, he'll bring about prosperity and health and wealth, and the world will be restored in the way God is. That's how the God living on this creation.
Of course, Messiah is very essential.
Yes,
and Jewish imagination.
Absolutely. Messiah is essential. Right? So Messiah is understood as an agent, and Jewish, that's the other definition. First, but some sort of agent God's going to use to bring about the final change. God will work through this agent. And apocalyptic, that's part of apocalypticism, but also, there's also this sense that those that live in present life are looking around at their world and realizing there's not much we can do to make this happen. Right? You're Jews living under your own power, you don't have much wealth, you don't have armies, you don't have weapons, how are you going to, what's this actually going to happen? And so you begin to think, well, God's going to have to do something drastic. God's going to have to bring into this present world and change things in a really powerful way. And then you get this kind of imagination of what that might look like. And that leads you into types of ways to describe it. And that leads you into what we might call apocalyptic literature. Apocalyptic literature is this type of literature that speaks into this very difficult situation where Israel is struggling, difficult, and in an agile way in which God might.
So we have a revelation. This and as we're going to find out, because that's why we're talking about it, Mark 13.
That's right.
So let's talk about where we are. Where are we in time as readers of Mark's Gospel? And so there's only one answer to this, right? That's right. I'm going to run into here. I think you're right. But talk about the, we talked before about kind of just the three ways Mark is read relative to time. Because I think it helps contextualize what we're going to hear in 13.
I think so. And you mentioned Mark, Revelation, Mark, that I think I'll say a little more later. I want to stress, Mark is apocalyptic literature light. Compared to Revelation, there's certainly apocalyptic imagery, but it's not full-blown Revelation. But yes, so let's talk about where we are. And there's a variety of different views, which impact the way you read Mark. Right? And so I'm going to walk through these views and kind of outline them. And a lot of has to do when is Mark being written to? And the kind of conditions the way someone's going to read this. The first view is Mark was running pre-7. So before the destruction of Jerusalem, and Mark is writing to Christians that are living in that reality. Some are going to say that he's writing to Christians in Rome for that reality. Some are saying that he's writing to Christians in Galilee or Syria for that reality happens. Where the Jewish, there's a war going on in Israel, right? The Romans come down to Jewish revolt, and so it's kind of maybe around that time and looking forward. And if you read that, you can kind of break this chapter down into two sections. You can chapter verses 5 through 8 talk about wars and rumors of wars, nations fighting against each other, earthquakes, famines, and all sorts of things. Bad things. Since these are just the beginning of suffering, and so the idea would be that this reading would say these are exciting things that the readers had experienced. There were wars and rumors of wars. There was war going on in Israel. There might be a civil war going on in Rome. So there's wars and rumors of wars. This is describing things. And then it talks about the believers' experience being taken over to kings, governors, those sorts of things. Still talking about things the believers experience, read the facts. These things happen in the book of Acts. And then you get to chapter, verse 14. When you see the Thessalonian sacrilege standing where then let the reader understand, then those of you who must escape, and then it talks about those on the roof shouldn't go down to their homes, those on the field shouldn't go back and grab their clothes. It's get out. This is that, right? So the three, if you're reading this, the scholars are going to do the three. They understand this to be predicting or looking forward to the destruction of Jerusalem. And thus conveying a warning to Jews to say, hey, get out of Jerusalem, get out of this area, it's going to be dangerous, it's going to be bad, it's important. So it's pre- and then after that, you get to verse 43, and it talks about more apocalyptic things and and then that is generally understood as describing the end, right? This is. I don't. If you remember from the first one, I think that maybe as you've been reading through this together, I don't think Mark was written prior to that. I think Mark was after that. I think there's a lot of indications on pace, and one of the weaknesses, I think, of this that you want is other indications Mark's going to say. Also, you got to ask, how is the text functioning then for the reader? And the answer is, well, it's warning them. Get out. Right? This is urgent. This is a serious matter. And when I think about it, I think, okay, if that's the purpose of Mark 13, warning believers to get out of Jerusalem, Mark took his sweet time to get to a warning. So when you're thinking, why can't get him out of Jerusalem? I can get him out of Jerusalem. Well, let me start by telling you a long story about Jesus and his ministry, and then chapter 13, and then in the middle of chapter 15, I'll be more warning because, oh, by the way, he tells us things are really dangerous. What is that? It just seems like a really odd way to deal with a problem. If this is the problem, and then the immediate after the problem is going to be the return and all these things, that's in your worldview. Is the first thing you say, I don't know how to handle that. I'll write a story about Jesus. A gospel about Jesus. When you think that it's the end is really near and all that kind of stuff, that's not how you handle a problem. Seems to be more. That's right. This is what we need a meeting for this, or we need and I send them something quick and say, hey, this is a problem. So I think that's a problem with this reading. I think there's many indications Mark is reading that question. I don't think that view is true.
And in the 70 world, you've got the temple is gone. Rome is now kind of put itself as, if you believe that if your God wins, that means your God is greater, it's not looking very good for the God of Israel. So I think Rome would be at least one. And if the temple is actually gone, so 74, it's a flash. We're talking flattened, then you're not only going to see theological questions about, so, well, is God of Israel really the God I should be following? Also, if you're a Christian, your whole identity is in crisis. Because while you had the cover of the synagogue and of the temple, Roman to do was do. You were a sect of the Jews. Now you kind of want to pull yourself on that. So, hey, those guys, they're not us. And when Rome looks at you a little differently, it says, well, then who are you? And so your identity is in real, genuine crisis. This is the time to wrap it up.
I think so. So now let's talk about possibility. So let's talk about the idea of writing this after that.
No, one very
popular film sometimes is writing after 70. And so what is it that addresses it? And so it would be some parts very similar. It is so verses 5 through 8 are describing experiences that the church had, and then 9 through 9 through 13 also describing experiences they had, and 14 through about 22 also describing the destruction of the temple and the experiences they had. Right? And so it reads verses 14 and following is retrospective. Right? You look back to describing the temple destruction. I don't think that's right either. And the reason I think that's a problem is Mark seems to suggest that if you're reading 14 as destruction of the temple, what's supposed to happen immediately after the destruction of the temple? The return of Jesus, right? It's supposed to be the return of Jesus. So you can conflict there. And what you're saying is, this gospel has been written shortly after the destruction of the temple. And today, immediately after that, Jesus is returning. What should be happening as the author is writing?
We should be sensational.
That's right. And the author thinks that, so he sits down and says, I'm talking to write my gospel. It doesn't seem to work make sense. So I don't think that makes sense either. And so the way I read it, and I love the others too, I would say, I don't think 14 is talking about the destruction of the temple. I don't think 14 has a vision of the temple in mind. I think the destruction of the temple, the surrounding destruction of the temple is captured perfectly well when you talk about wars and rumors of wars. Right? And it's describing what's happening, right? There's wars and rumors of wars, and that's what's happened. I think Mark is dealt with. When you raise the question of what do we do with the temple being destroyed from the perspective of Rome's God and our gods, that sort of conversation, I think Mark has dealt with that perfectly well in chapters 11 and 12. And what is Mark demonstrating in 11 and 12? Well, Jesus has condemned the temple. Basically said it's not the place where God was living anywhere. Said God was going to destroy it. And I think that response to the propaganda went well. That's demonstrated. He goes, well, what did Rome destroy? Place of God used to. Right? And then he shall. And in Jesus predicting the destruction of the temple, what is Rome? They're just a part of the God of Israel that Jesus predicted would do this already. Right? So I think 12, 11, and 12 really got Rome as its kind of propaganda power. And I think that Mark 13 is not as interested in the temple. And I think Mark 13 is looking forward, it's post-70, looking forward, and it is writing to Jews that are freaking out. Or Jewish Christians, and maybe Gentiles. Well, they are having maybe the next crisis going on. And I think Mark is trying to calm.
Yeah, I think that's important. We get reader good in his own time. You can imagine that kind of apocalyptic fervor about this immediately. Today we start, as I said, we read these things, we start looking around. It's on April 8th if you want to mark your calendars. I think it's darkening of the sun. Okay, let's go. So we get excited. Do you think it's actually trying to calm them down a little bit?
I think so. I think we have a lot of what you might call eschatological or anytime fervor and anxiety is risen up. They're looking all around, and I think Mark is trying to say, calm down. This isn't the end. It's not necessarily the end. The end is coming, right? The end is going to be here, and there'll be a maybe back towards the end, or we're not there yet. I think for most people, Mark's saying, listen, we are still experiencing these earth pains, these difficulties, hardships. I think Mark is saying his people are living in the reality of verses 5 through 13. And that's what they're living in. And I haven't yet seen this escalate happen. But it's coming at some point. I think Mark coming down and saying, so calm down. Not there. Don't be overreactions. So that's my sense of what Mark's doing in the midst of them living in this reality of where they're anxious about their relationship. What's happening around them.
Well, it's in that sense it becomes an encouragement word. You get the word, it's a call to faith. Hold on to the one who endures to the end. We echo out of Revelation, it's also here in Mark. That it's a call to, stay faithful, stay true to the things that you know to be the case. And endure whatever context you find yourself in. And so for Christians in Mark's community, writing to, I assume it's pretty rough. That it occasions the gospel that he takes 16 chapters to remind them about all the things that have happened, and to remind them about Jesus, and to kind of settle them down in their faith. In a sense, I hear Mark holding them back to their first love, to borrow again from Revelation. To call them back to Jesus. And to say, do you believe this? Do you still believe? Is that your challenge?
That's right. Absolutely. I think this kind of what's going on is kind of, will you be faithful regardless? It's coming. But during that difficulty, also saying, addressing their eschatological expectation. Because for many Jews, the belief was the Messiah came would happen. The end would come. And everything would be made right. And I think Jesus in some way is correcting or giving an eschatological correction, saying it's not going to be that. It's going to be different. It's going to be hard. Life is going to be different. And during the difficulty, 2,000 years might happen. Difficulty throughout and during that.
So let's drop to 1330. This is the difficult verse because of some of these dynamics that we've played out in this act. Truly I say to you, Jesus says, this generation will surely not pass away until all these things have come to pass. What do we do with this verse then and now? If the frame we just said is correct, what's going on in Mark, I tend to agree. We're still in it. We're still in it. So what do we do with this language of, this generation, we've seen lots of generations pass away.
And this passage is pointed out, and he is challenging, might even say embarrassing, text for the church. Because it sounds like Jesus said. It sounds like 40 years. That's right. We've been doing it 40 years. It's all going to get wrapped up. And here we are 2,000 years later. And the concern is that Jesus did wrong. Right? Jesus, he missed a mistake. And this is been troubling for many. And many of them scrambled to try and free Jesus from his mistake. And if you read the literature on this scholarship, there are many ways they try to do that. And what there's a lot of scholars are trying to do, because they're so motivated to free Jesus from his mistake. What they perceive to be a mistake is they're trying to unbox him, right? He talks himself in and they feel like they want to create a whole box. And so there's quick ways they do that. One way is he talks about all these things happen. Well, if you can somehow remove the coming of the Son of Man from all these things, maybe you're okay, right? So the great suffering and some of that, maybe you're okay. And so some try to say, well, all these things are really talking about verses 5 to 22. We don't really talk about verse 5. It's a little sneaky move. And when you come to that move, you weren't worried about making Jesus, freeing Jesus from those sins. And so we try that, he gets it. The others have looked through regeneration. I assure you, this regeneration will pass away as happened. And so, well, let's look at regeneration. If generation can be understood differently, then maybe Jesus is in Boston. Some have said that generation can be used to refer to a race of people. So Jewish people's race, or something like that. Problem with this is nowhere marked in this way. I don't think there's really anywhere in the New Testament to use this way. Maybe one occurrence. It's not a very, it can be an odd reading of text. And so most scholars land on and say, no, generation is a 30 to 40 year period of time. You can't get Jesus out of the box. But this is where I and a couple others have pushed back. I run our and I came back. It is an ultimate biblical reason why
BBR.
Right. You get that, and if you're interested, you know me. Let me even close those for a minute. And looking at this regeneration, there's some things that made me think, wait a minute. Maybe it's not just a strict 34 years. And one clue is look at verse 32. Nobody knows when the day or hour, not even the angel, not only the Son, not the Son, only the Father. This language of the day or the hour. Now, Jesus in one verse, just two verses before saying, generation won't pass away. You see the beginning of time. Right? And then, two verses later, he says, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Now, something went wrong. Well, you can solve the problem by saying, well, generation is 30, 40 years, and Jesus says the day or the hour. So you can know a general time frame, not specific time. I think that is kind of mystic. That's over-reading verse 30.
You could go William Miller on this thing. William Miller famously used the Bible to calculate the exact date of Jesus' return. Nobody ever tries this before or ever since. Just a lot. Not a good William Miller said it was going to be in a year, in a particular place in New York. Of course, a lot of people showed up, and it didn't happen, and they were all disappointed. And then he went back and said, I was off 1 year. And so they came back again, and of course, it didn't happen. And this was the greatest. And so just one thing failed to tell some timing. I think we go back and get Mark 13:32. Let's go get William Miller and Mark 13:32 there. And I think we can move up to 2025. We can pull it up. Yeah. So if this calculation thing is happening, what's happening?
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about that. See, how does that kind of don't know that calculation if it's a 30, 40 years? Next to a don't know the time next to a right? And so that seems to be odd. That means let's think through this generation. Like, well, generation. The word is negative. The Greek word is negative. It is actually used often in reference to what I talked about earlier, the present age, present evil age, and the future age. Right? And so starting looking at the way this idea of generation is used, one, you can see it in a number of pseudo-graphical literature, Jewish literature that some people at times have scriptures that didn't, there's a lot of discussion of in the evil age, there being an evil generation, an evil generation, an apostate generation, a wicked generation. When you go to the Dead Sea Scrolls, you see the exact same idea. This idea that there is this, at the end of the present evil age, there's a wicked generation, an apostate generation. For the writing of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the apostate generation, this is really quickly. This is written by a group known as the Essenes. And the Essenes, right? They are equivalent the Jews of Jerusalem. They've left Jerusalem, they're out in the wilderness by themselves. They said, those Jews of Jerusalem, they're the apostates. They're doing it wrong, they have their own calendar they're using, they don't do the sacrifices, right? Those are the apostates, and this is the wicked generation. And others will identify that wicked generation differently. Interestingly, Jesus frequently talks about a generation that is what? Faithless, adulterous. Look at Matthew, Mark, and Luke. John doesn't say as well. So you see all the way throughout Matthew, Mark, and Luke about an apostate generation, another pagan generation. Seems to me Jesus is drawing on this view that exists, right? And all around in Judaism, the present evil age is characterized by an evil day, an evil generation, right? And so what I look at that, and what I suggested is, I don't know that we should read generation here in terms of a literal 30 to 40 years. But Jesus is talking about the people of the present evil age, right? Those are people that characterize the present evil age. It still would have kind of a temporal element. But let's strip that from us, right? It's the people of the present evil. It's not all people of all time. It's the people of the present evil that let's talk about, right? Think of it this way. There are texts that are written by the people who are on the Dead Sea Scrolls. And they write these texts, maybe they write them in 160 BC. Well, in 65 AD, those people are still reading the exact same text. And the apostate generation that they wrote back in 160 were the Jews of Jerusalem. Move forward over 200 years. They're still reading the exact same text. And they still think that the apostate generation was what? The Jews in Jerusalem are still doing it the wrong way. So while they get to generation, and it's kind of temporal, it's not strictly, it's not a strict single generation. It's a characterization of people in a particular time. That makes sense? And so what I said, I think Jesus is using that way. And what he's saying here is this generation, meaning the people of this present evil age, are not going to pass away until all has been accomplished. All that I just described. So he's putting a strict time. And it's interesting when you read Matthew and Luke, they maintain this text. And it didn't cause them any trouble, right? They didn't seem challenged. They didn't feel any attack. And so what I would say Jesus is doing here with this text is he's basically clarifying a rethinking of the Jewish eschatological timetable. The Jewish eschatological timetable we're talking about, popular timetable, was what? Present evil age. Messiah comes, brings out the church. And Jesus is saying, that's not the way it's going to be. What I'm telling you people is present evil age is here. And the people of that age, and the people of that age is going to extend past my coming, all the way until my right? And so what I would understand is going on in Mark 13. And what is being described is Mark's way of including Jesus' teaching to correct misunderstanding of the eschatological content. And when they say, when are all these things going to take place? They're asking, when are all the messianic stuff going to happen? And Jesus saying, let me give you a news flash. It's not going to be the way you think it's going to be. There are going to be bad things. Wars, famine, earthquakes, those things are going to happen. They're going to characterize this time, this kind of middle time, where kind of future realities coexist with present realities. And it's going to be that way, and they're going to live through it. People are going to persecute you, and they're going to have hardship. Not everything's going to be made right. And then the Son of Man will come, and he will gather his life, and he will make everything right in the end. And Jesus is saying, this wicked generation, they're with you that that's exactly right. Absolutely. So that's what I think he's talking about, and how we are. And so it's both easing eschatological time and correcting eschatological misunderstanding. And getting a new way of understanding how this eschatological time or popular
And that is the Christians today.
I think so.
It's becomes then an enduring word for the church.
Absolutely.
From the time of Jesus, the time of Mark's community, as he reminded them about Jesus,
Absolutely.
as instilled. So what's the word? Eschatological anxiety when an Christmas coming? And then that kind of waves and roads towards the change of the headship of Russia. We're like, oh, or China starts to, oh, or things happen in America. Oh, this is the thing that Jesus was talking about. These are the signs. This is the time. So we should really get involved in these, publish lots of books about it. And do it for about a year, and we can get them for like $1 for 20 copies from CBD. So we should really get. We should get read up.
Or as psychological anxiety can be calm and understand, Jesus told us what? There is going to be hardship and difficulty and challenges for the world and for God's people, right? There's going to be force and reverse. And what I would say is, people always say, well, this is describing something different, or describing the very end. No, chapter 13 is describing the reality of the world. Right? Like, what have we experienced in the last 2,000 years? Worse. Over again. You hear people, they say, well, this is what the Bible describes the end of the world. Well, it is. The Bible talks about the end. I would say it does talk about the end is the time between Jesus. The disciples of Jesus thought they were in the end times, and they were. And we thought they were in the end times, and we are. And we could be for another 1,000 years. Right? I mean, the reality is, this text is describing basically a time in between versus a time that's going to have challenges, and then what's the false lessons? Be faithful. And this is later in the text, they want to talk about being alert. You don't know the day or the hour. That's verse 33. Watch out and stay alert. You don't know when the time is coming. What does it mean to be alert? It doesn't mean that you have the newspaper in front of you, and you're just like mapping out the details of when it's all going to be fulfilled. It means that when the Lord returns, He finds you. He doesn't find you living appropriately. He doesn't find you abandoning your faith, compromising with culture.
Doesn't find you having more allegiance to Rome to Jesus.
That's exactly right. By the way, there's a message like
It's also another word that preaches today.
Absolutely.
Watch for your allegiance. That's right. Watch for the power that you invest your faith in. Absolutely.
Don't invest your faith in the evil generation that is surrounding what is invested.
A good work for our community, a great word for today. We do have to start landing the plane here.
Okay.
So any final summary on Mark 13 thoughts?
I think I said most of what I had to say.
Yeah, let's open for questions. So if you have questions, please ask them. Let's go with Jim Hahn. And then we'll go with William Henry. So Jim's loud and proud. So Jim's taking us to the Transfiguration story, and where Jesus comes down on the mountain and finds basically the disciples worshiping a golden calf. And it's asking whether that's basically the story that you reimagine here in Mark 13.
I think there's probably something to that, right? So the glimpse of Jesus on Mount Transfiguration is just kind of a glimpse of the future, right? And in fact, what's Peter want to do? He wants to build three dwellings. What does that mean? It means he wants to stay there. It means he wants that's what he gets wrong, right? If you stay there, you don't go to Jerusalem. Jesus doesn't die. And he wants to capture the future, that eschatological glory then. And Jesus says, no, I have to come down. I have to experience stuff. I have to experience the failing of Messiah. Yeah, I think that's probably a great thing. I haven't put those two pieces together about that. But I coming down from the mountain is the kind of first coming kind of thing. But that first coming is not lasting. You're going to live in this miserable time of suffering until. Yes. How long will I be able to say it? Yep.
Wait, would you address verse 20?
Question is about for our streaming audience. Question is about verse 20.
If the Lord hasn't shown that time, then we will rescue the sake of chosen ones, the ones that God chose. He has cut short time. He's talking about this coming in the language of. So in this, what it seems to suggest is in the days before the coming, things are getting hard. Right? It may be more hard or more difficult. Right? It's kind of this ramping up difficult. It's not there's no difficulty in life. There's continuing difficulty that makes hardship. And what he's basically talking about is you will be in some way limited for the sake of God's people. I think that's what he's trying to say. We want to talk about the idea of chosen, what it means.
John Council's all.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I'm more likely chosen language leaning more into this idea of God's chosen people in terms of Israel, opposed to choosing. But that's a bigger conversation. Did that address your question, Walter?
Yeah. I mean, any kind of language that we get in the New Testament that's about election is a doctrine of comfort. Those who believe, the doctrine of chosenness is a doctrine of comfort. And so,
Education of God's people.
Dedication to Israel. And you can get the idea of Jesus talking about all the suffering that's going to go on and on and on. Like, what good is being a believer? It's going to suffer forever. It's like, God has, and we see this in Revelation. Back to it. There is a gracious critique of the suffering. That for the faithful, it's not going to go on and on and on and on. So I think it's a word of consolation in the midst of suffering.
That's good.
Other direct next question.
Yeah. Yeah. So what it seems to be, so I would say 14 through 22. He's talking about some sense of this ramping up of hardship. Does that make sense? It's going to be difficult. There's difficult time. And then when you get close to the actual second coming, there's going to be increased difficulty. And pray that it doesn't happen in winter. I don't know how literally I think that. But essentially the idea is this. If it's happening in winter and you're forced out of your home, forced out of your city, there's no protection, there's no comfort for you. It's going to be bad. Pray that this happens in a season where it's not even worse. What I think the language is trying to do. And popular literature, and popular literature often uses this kind of more extreme language to describe things. That's what you're seeing. The sun, the rain happening in winter. It's using this kind of extreme language to describe kind of this ramping up of hardship. That's what I think that addresses.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing too. Apocalyptic is a mode, a style that allows you literally a freedom of talking ways you wouldn't want to talk. So, we don't look at stand-up comedy and like it's the news. And if we do, we make a category mistake. So we can't listen to apocalyptic writing, we don't want to writing and think of it as a historical reference. I mean, there's a mode speaking, there's a world of symbolism, there's a way of being time that's germane to that. I think it's a category in the literal sense. So I think that's Jesus' instruction of apocalypse.
Vivid language to capture something.
That's right. It's a hard community Mark seems to be being persecuted, the persecuted community is on the fence. Mark's trying to say, stay faithful. So the apocalyptic approach is appropriate. Tune up the heat. Let's do evil. My contention is that we're going to read chapters 14, 15, and 16, and it's decision time. Mark is preaching. He's got people on the front row on the worry bench, and he's trying to convince them to stand aside. And you should find yourself by Mark 16 in a position of faith. Like Mark's done his job. We're going to get to Mark 16 in a few weeks. Dr. Elizabeth Shackley's actually going to come and talk to us about Mark 16. She's a true seminary. And she's going to talk Mark 16 has some problems. But it's a glorious ending of the gospel. Stay tuned. But on February 24th, that's Sunday, I remember. But this decision will be believed, so apocalyptic is like right. Okay, we have got to close. I started the 10-minute ticket. So thank you, Adam, for being with us. Let's give it a big press for you. For guiding our study, Jim Mark, we are blessed because of the work that you are doing on so continue to do that work. We're excited about this paper. Please keep Brent under control. You've been renewed for another year of managing Brent. They've got us all three transitions.